The Girl and the Hidden Flower. The first time Mira saw the flower, it was tucked away in a forgotten corner of the meadow, hidden beneath a tangle of wild grass and shadows. The petals glimmered faintly in the sunlight, almost as if the earth itself had whispered a secret into their fragile forms. Mira knelt beside it, heart pounding, as though discovering a treasure no one else had ever noticed. In that moment, she realized that beauty often hides where no one bothers to look, and courage, she understood, begins with seeing what others ignore. Mira had always been drawn to hidden things. In her small village, where life followed the predictable rhythm of chores, markets, and meager celebrations, she had learned to look beyond the obvious. The world seemed ordinary, even mundane, yet she felt a pulse beneath it, a rhythm of secrets, of hidden wonders, waiting for those who dared to notice. And the flower before her was proof. Even in the most overlooked places, miracles could exist. The flower was delicate, almost unreal, with petals of deep violet edged in gold. Mira traced the curve of a leaf with her finger, careful not to crush it, and felt an inexplicable connection, a silent understanding that this tiny being had persisted despite neglect, shadows, and storms. It was a lesson etched in nature. Resilience matters, survival matters, and even the smallest lives can hold profound significance. Day after day, Mira returned to the hidden flower, watching it grow, bloom, and sway with the wind. She spoke to it softly, recounting her own fears, dreams, and thoughts no one else could hear. In her voice, the flower seemed to respond, leaning toward her presence as if acknowledging her dedication, her courage to notice what others passed by. In those moments, Mira realized that attention is itself a form of care, and that recognizing beauty and vulnerability is an act of bravery. Her friends and neighbors saw nothing remarkable. They walked past the meadow, their eyes fixed on chores, gossip, or routine. Mira, however, had discovered something extraordinary, a world that existed parallel to the ordinary, invisible to most, yet vibrant, alive, and capable of teaching lessons the human heart rarely forgets. The flower became a symbol, not of vanity nor possession, but of discovery, patience, and the subtle power of noticing. One afternoon, dark clouds rolled in, and rain began to fall, soft at first, then heavy. Mira sheltered the flower with her hands, pressing her body close to protect it from the worst of the storm. She understood now that courage was not merely in seeing the hidden, but in acting to safeguard it, even when no one else cared. She whispered promises to the petals, vows to nurture, protect, and honor the hidden wonders that the world often overlooked. The flower's resilience mirrored her own. Mira had faced ridicule for her curiosity, doubt for her quiet bravery, and skepticism for her fascination with things others deemed trivial. Yet she persisted, driven by an understanding that what is hidden often holds the greatest meaning, and that the courage to care, even quietly, can alter the course of lives in ways subtle but profound. By evening, the storm had passed, leaving the meadow glistening, fragrant, and alive. Mira sat beside the flower, soaked but triumphant, feeling a kinship she had never known before. In its quiet persistence, she found a reflection of her own determination, and a reminder that life's most precious discoveries are often those no one else will see. The hidden flower had become her mentor, her companion, and her inspiration, teaching her that true bravery is not always loud, and that recognition of beauty, where it is most delicate, requires a heart willing to notice and protect. The next morning, sunlight spilled across the meadow, painting everything in gold and green. Mira returned to the hidden flower, its petals still trembling from the previous day's storm. She knelt beside it, brushing the wet leaves with care, and felt a quiet sense of triumph. The flower had survived, and in its survival, Mira saw the reflection of her own resilience. She realized that protecting what is delicate requires not only strength, but also patience, observation, and unwavering attention. She lingered there for hours, noticing every detail, the subtle variations of color along the petals, the way the stem bent slightly under the weight of dew, the gentle sway that seemed almost like a heartbeat. Mira spoke to it softly, telling it about her hopes, her fears, and the small victories of everyday life. Though the flower could not answer, it responded in its own way, by existing, by thriving, by proving that even the smallest lives hold power and meaning. Other children passed through the meadow, chasing butterflies or collecting wild herbs, but none noticed the hidden bloom. Mira understood then that seeing the unseen is a rare and courageous act. She thought about how easy it is to overlook beauty when preoccupied with the ordinary, and how rare it is to offer care where others fail to notice need. Her heart swelled with a sense of responsibility. The flower was not just a plant, it was a teacher, a test of her patience and persistence, and a mirror of the courage that resides in all who choose to see what is hidden. As the day progressed, Mira began to notice subtle changes in the flower. A new bud peeked shyly from behind the petals, promising growth and life yet to come. Myra's eyes widened in awe. She realized that nurturing does not guarantee immediate results, but it sets the conditions for miracles to unfold. Every gentle touch, every whispered word, every careful act of attention contributed to something far greater than herself. The flower had begun to respond to care, and in doing so, taught Mira the profound truth that life flourishes when met with intention, patience, and respect. By mid-afternoon, Mira had returned to the village to gather water and supplies, but her thoughts never left the hidden flower. She imagined it growing stronger, surviving, and teaching anyone patient enough to notice. She realized that courage is contagious. Her attention, care, and belief in the unseen had the power to inspire others, even without words. And in that quiet reflection, she felt a deep satisfaction. She had discovered something extraordinary, not in grand displays or accolades, but in persistence, observation, and the commitment to nurture life wherever it hides. Evening came, soft and warm, with the sky painted in hues of amber and violet. Mira returned to the meadow, the flower now gently swaying in the twilight breeze. She knelt beside it, a sense of quiet reverence filling her chest. She understood now that the hidden flower had given her more than beauty. It had offered lessons of patience, courage, and empathy. It had shown her the power of noticing, of tending, and of protecting what others overlook. Mira smiled, her fingers brushing lightly against the petals. The flower had endured storms, neglect, and shadowed corners, yet it remained alive and radiant. She whispered a promise, not to the flower alone, but to herself, to always seek the unseen, to protect what is fragile, and to recognize that the smallest acts of courage often carry the greatest significance. She felt a profound connection between herself and the hidden bloom, a shared understanding of survival, resilience, and the quiet power of persistence. As night fell and fireflies emerged, Mira lingered, gazing at the flower glowing softly in the moonlight. She understood the ultimate truth. Greatness is not always loud or visible, and courage is not always celebrated. Sometimes it lives quietly in corners, in hidden petals, and in the hearts of those who choose to notice. And in that understanding, Mira felt a sense of completion, of alignment with the subtle rhythms of life, and of purpose that would guide her for years to come.